Hello guys, I'm Justine from the Chadwick Science Society, and I'm here to talk to you guys about statistical data analysis, which simply would be how you can change or interpret the numbers that you are given within science experiments or in mathematics. So later on, you'll be having some numbers or data from science experiments you do in class, and what's important is that you put them in a format so you can better understand what the different numbers mean. And what will really help you understand this is to put them into different tables or graphs. And today I'll be teaching you about two different types of graphs that you can use for certain types of research questions or when doing certain experiments. So I've prepared two sample experiments, and the first one might be on the research question or investigating which brand's paper towel has the best absorbency. I actually did this in middle school at Chadwick, and you guys might do this in the future. And what we did was we measured the absorbency, or how much water a paper towel can absorb, by looking into the change in the mass of the paper towel before and after putting it in water. So what we did is, before the experiment, we had the paper towels put on an electronic scale. We measured the mass, and after we soaked in water, we also used the electronic scale to record the mass. And so we tested three different brands of paper towels: Kleenex, Scott Blue, and Scott White. And so above you can see the mass of the soaked paper towel, and I put the name of the table as raw data because it simply means that you just put all of the data that you collected. So here you can see that there in the left there's trial 1, 2, 3. This is because you don't do an experiment once, you repeat it multiple times so that you could see if there were any errors or mistakes that you did, and you can best find accurate or data that is best representative of what actually happened. So in this experiment, you do 3 trials, and so for each of the trials, there is the according mass of the soaked paper towel that you measured after putting it in the water. And so you could see there are different values or numbers for each of the paper towels. You can see that they're for each 1, 2, 3, all of the 3 trials. After you have all of the values from the trials put into this table, you could measure the average or calculate the average data for each of the masses of the soaked paper towel. So how you do it is simple. You add all of the numbers from trial 1, 2, and 3, and because you did 3 trials, you'll be dividing by 3. And because you can see that there is only 1 decimal place for the data, you can round it to 1 decimal place. So if you calculate it, it would be for Kleenex 4.4 plus 4.3 plus 4.1 divided by 3, which gives you 4.2 rounded to 1 decimal place. And so you repeat this for each of the brands of the paper towels, and you can get the average. And when making the data table, remember that 4.4 is not simply a value, but because you measured the mass, it's important that you include the units, which in my case was grams, represented by this G over here. So this is the initial or first type of table that you can make after you collected all of the data from your experiment. Then you will try to know the absorbency, which was the point of the experiment, as you can see over here. So to do that, as we said, we're looking at how much water was absorbed or soaked by the paper towel, and how you would find this is the change in mass. So before the experiment, you would have measured the original or initial mass of the paper towels. In this case, it was 0.6, 0.9, 0.7 for each of the paper towels. And again, you can see that I'm represented as G, which is grams. And so you put the final mass in the next column. The final mass, as you can see, are all of the average values that were calculated from the previous table. And so to measure the absorbency, you simply subtract the final mass and the original mass. So you subtract 4.4 and 4.2 minus 0.6, and that gives you 3.6, which would be the absorbency calculated from this experiment. So you repeat this for each of the brands of paper towels, and you can see that there are different absorbencies for each of the paper towels. You can see that Scott Blue has the highest difference in mass between the final and original mass. This would mean that it soaked up the most water, and therefore the mass changed the most. However, you can see that simply looking at this, you would have to compare the numbers, but a better way to represent this will be a bar graph. And you can see over here in a bar graph, the data is compared by the height or the length of the different bars. You can see here clearly that compared to Kleenex and Scott White, Scott Blue has the longest bar, and therefore Scott Blue would be considered as having the greatest absorbency. And you can see that each of the values or the absorbency in grams was also represented here. And in this way, if you are comparing different brands or different variables, then you can use bar graphs because you can clearly visually see the differences.